Anteaters, they're just crazy looking, is the 23rd episode of the 4th season of Two and a Half Men. This is directed by Lee Aronsohn, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the events of the episode and share some thoughts. And I rather like this one, and I think it addresses some pretty important topics as far as Charlie is concerned. It actually starts off with Charlie trying to get his date out of the house. This is a woman called Chloe. She's played by Rachel Cannon. And once she leaves, Alan needs to tell Charlie something. And it turns out Charlie finds out what it is before Alan gets a chance to tell him, because he leans on the railing on the deck and falls down onto the beach below. And Alan actually keeps the flyers that get pushed through the door with numbers for handymen and things. And he hired somebody called Fernando. He's played by Enrique Iglesias. And it's Enrique Iglesias. He's physically attractive. And Berta sees him and gets excited. I absolutely love this moment where Berta says that he could do some jobs around the house, and Charlie says there are no jobs around the house. Berta suggests the kitchen cupboards are a bit loose. Charlie tests one, it's absolutely fine, so Berta goes up to it and just pulls it off. And it's just absolutely fantastic. It's such a great moment. And then after that, we look at Charlie and Alan's expression, their response, which was just absolutely brilliant. Probably my favourite moment in the whole episode. Judith then comes over. She has some forms for Alan to sign for Jake's summer school. And then she sees Fernando and goes outside, very excited. And then Berta comes in and sees Judith with Fernando, and she goes outside. And I would have liked to have seen a little scrap there. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. But obviously, we can imagine how things went down. And then Chloe comes over with some soup. And this is actually really sweet, because Charlie had lied to her and said that he was sick. He gave a, I guess, somewhat convincing display of sickness when she phoned him. And she came over with some soup because he said he had the flu. And that was really, really sweet of her. And it was really nice. And obviously Charlie had lied. And then she sees Fernando. And up until that point, Charlie had no interest in Chloe. But as soon as she had eyes only for Fernando, Charlie needed Chloe's attention. And I thought that was really interesting and also not unrealistic. I feel like all of us at some point might not be interested in something until we're no longer allowed that thing. And suddenly, it's actually a lot more fascinating. And Charlie does everything he can to try and get Chloe's attention, and he sings her, or plays for her rather, on the piano, Chloe's song. He's written the melody but not the lyrics, and he starts to play on the piano. And I felt really bad because I didn't recognise the song until Fernando started singing You Are So Beautiful. And of course he sings it beautifully, and Chloe is very taken with him, and Charlie wants to fire him. And in the kitchen with Alan and Jake, he's talking about this, and we have a really great conversation about squirrels and anteaters and Charlie's eyes looking milky and bloodshot, which I thought was brilliant. And Alan points out to Charlie, understandably, that he wants to fire him because he's younger and better looking. And Charlie is getting older, and he's no longer the young generation. And Charlie realises that that's true. And the next thing we know, he's knocking on Chloe's door with the thermos that she'd brought over for the soup. And he's dressed in a very kind of stereotypical hip fashion with a baseball cap on and about 20,000 layers. And it's quite different. Definitely different to see Charlie dressing that way. And unfortunately, Chloe's not alone. And one of my favourite moments in this is when we see from Fernando coming into the frame, and Charlie points out that he was about to sleep with his girlfriend. And Fernando said, about to, as if to say, yeah, let's say I was about to, I haven't just done it. It was just his response. There was something very sweet and kind of almost innocent in the way he said it, even though it's very clear what he was implying. It felt quite sweet and adorable. I rather liked that. And then Charlie pointed out something that I thought was actually pretty good, because I liked the fact that Charlie, even though he was doing this for selfish reasons, he was pointing out that youth isn't everything. Yes, he was good looking. Yes, he was younger than Charlie, but Charlie could afford to buy Chloe expensive jewellery. Now, that's not everything either, but it's nice to see that actually youth and looks aren't everything. Having a successful career, having an established career, being in a position where one is financially comfortable is also very appealing. Obviously, that's not necessarily Charlie's message, but that's certainly a message to be read into it, and I rather enjoyed that part of it. And Charlie does fire Fernando, as one would expect. And we end with two great bits. Berta has hired Fernando, and well, Charlie fired him, so the deck's not finished, and he leaned on the railing and fell back down again. So, a really solid episode. I think it raises some really great points about the importance, or the perceived importance, of being youthful and visually attractive over more mature, established, financially more comfortable. Which one's more appealing? Honestly, I'm at the age now where the latter is a lot more appealing to me. And if I had to pick some personal highlights, well, absolutely Berta ripping off the cupboard door. I just thought it was beautifully executed. The conversation about anteaters and squirrels I rather liked. It was just a little bit of fun. And in general, everything basically from "You Are So Beautiful" until the end was just exquisite. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely a really solid episode of 2.5 Men. Anteaters, they're just crazy looking, is pretty brilliant.